Whether the emergency is a natural disaster or an isolated incident, it is important for all people, including those with disabilities, to be as prepared as possible in order to maintain independence. By creating a personal plan, you are taking responsibility for your own safety because you are in the best position to assess your needs and make your own decisions. Next, decide who can help in the case of an emergency, whether that is friends, family, or government and community organizations. There are a variety of agencies that can assist people during a time of emergency. After identifying who can help in case of an emergency, you need to then decide where you can find information and warning resources. For example, on your local TV or radio station and on the internet. Depending on the emergency, you may then have to decide whether to shelter in place or to evacuate. Evacuating your home is usually never your first choice, but may at times become necessary. Let's hear from self-advocates who've been through the experience.
The city buses, and I use school buses, mainly school buses. They took us to Red River High School. That was about 8 or 9 blocks from close to the downtown. And then from there, they had us all separated, but those that were going to go straight to the base, they told us, they didn't say we had an opportunity. They just said, if you're going to the base, where most of you will be, you just stay on the bus, and the bus will bus you out to the air base. And I was at the air base 2 days, and my mom had tried to get hold of me through the Red Cross, and or Salvation Army, excuse me, and there weren't any help at all. It wasn't until I got to Jamestown and started working, that was 2-3 weeks. My mom finally got hold of me in Jamestown.
When they come to your house and they tell you that you have to leave, you can't bring nothing with you or anything.
Well, 1997, we had a flood that we had to, get forks and go someplace else.
I was lucky to have a room of my own. I only left with just the clothes and my shoes on my feet. Matter of fact, yeah. Until I didn't get any clothing at the air base, just the bare necessities to brush your teeth, comb your hair, and shampoo. But they provided the bedding and the pillows and everything. And then we tried to find sizes, but until we got to Jamestown, I didn't really have any clothing, what I only wore from when I left the apartment.
Being unexpectedly evacuated from your home can be very stressful and upsetting. By preparing beforehand, you can avoid a lot of inconvenience. Regardless of whether sheltering at home or evacuating to shelter, having an emergency supply kit can make life during a disaster much easier. Conference attendees had a discussion of what to have in an emergency supply kit.
Flashlights, emergency radios, food, can openers, meds, bandages, a cold cramp pass. We never talked about that.
Get food.
And what else?
Get some clothes. Get Nintendo games.
I included be prepared for myself, my personal needs, phone list, which didn't ever happen. Kind of just going back and reflecting on what happened in '97, and make sure that I have these things and have a medical kit, first aid kit, get a duffel bag, and prepare, and then keep checking it every few months or every 3 months to make sure that batteries are charged up or are not leaking. Make sure that my pet or my companion have enough food that will last her maybe 2-3 weeks. That's including her medication too. Need to talk to the pharmacist to make sure that they know where I'm at.
Backpack, first aid backpack. Water, flashlight.
Like blankets, water, Band-Aids, food. Make sure that your water's update, whatever. Check it every 6 months, whatever.
That's a good start to getting prepared. If you need to shelter at home, make sure you have the appropriate supplies for a 2-week period. If evacuating, it is important to have a 3-day supply of items. It is important to have a plan in place for pets and service animals too. Animals are affected by disasters in the same way people are, so it is important to have a plan in place for them as well. Now let's hear from a few self-advocates on their experiences with pets and service animals during times of emergency.
That was my security and my living arrangements. My cat, I had to leave behind, and I had to put her down. And that was really hard.
Being separated from a pet, companion animal, or service animal can be tragic during a time of disaster. Preparing your animal for a disaster is your responsibility. Never leave your animal behind. If it isn't safe for you, it isn't safe for your animal either. Before a disaster, make plans for someone to take care of your animal if you can't get home during an emergency. Decide where you will take the animal if you have to evacuate. Getting your animal ready for an emergency is vital. One of our participants is already planning.
I have her papers on her being spaded and declawed and things like that. So I got it in a bag, so when I go somewhere, and if my pet, my little girl is going to a place for a shelter, that it's all ready to go. So I am being prepared for things. But a little bit more to do.
Typically, certified service animals are allowed in shelters, but they are only allowed if you have pet food, feeding dishes, proper identification, vaccination records, and waste bags. It is important to be prepared to house animals separately because shelter rules vary. Preparing an emergency supplies kit is an essential part of planning. Once you have your supplies together, it's a great idea to decide where you will go if you need to evacuate and how you will get there. Options could include staying with friends or family or evacuating to a local shelter. Depending on the community and the severity of the emergency, you will have different options such as the American Red Cross, the Salvation Army, and faith-based organizations, among others. Now let's hear about where self-advocates sheltered after evacuating their homes.
Shelter.
What kind of places have shelters?
Churches, schools, buildings.
When the flood hits, I want to go to a shelter place. It's safe.
I went to Mayville, and it was at the college there, and they had the people from Red Cross, and that was very enjoyable. We had to be on cots and that for a couple of days. And then they transferred us to a school in West Fargo called Middle School, where we stayed there for, I think it's 6 or 7 days. So actually, I was away from my home for 8 days.
Well, they had to evacuate the people of Grand Forks. We went to Hope, North Dakota. Stay with Kay Wasbert's mom for a while till they told us we could come back.
There was a work shelter in Jamestown that hired us on. I was in Jamestown a month and a half before I got to go back.
Making plans of where you want to stay before a disaster will maximize comfort and give you security. Talk with your support network to explore options that will work best for you. Making a plan and reviewing it regularly can truly make a huge difference when dealing with an emergency. It empowers individuals to take control of the situation, decreasing stress and increasing security. Emergencies happen everywhere, and it is important to be prepared in case one happens to you. Let's see how our self-advocates feel now that they have prepared a personal plan of action.
Because I know what to do. I have a plan and action.
It feels like I'm more safer in that stuff, and I know where to go in that stuff, and not to be scared or anything. I know who to talk to in that stuff, and who I can tell my mom and them. It'd probably be safer if you know more about taking the classes and that stuff. They'll tell you more in that stuff. You meet people that they're not there to hurt you, they're there to help you.
If it happens again, we'll be more prepared ahead of time.
I feel pretty good.
I would be more settled, and I wouldn't be so shaken up, or you know, I would be a lot more calmer, it's called.
Well, I hope to learn, like, how to deal with bad weather and stuff.
As far as working with the different agencies, knowing that there's a lot of people in the system that don't know the system. So it's nice to know the different agencies, or to get to know the different agencies. And if it's like with the state, city, or county.
I know what to do for emergency to other people help me make it be safe with it.
Well, I know it's not to panic, which is a big issue for a lot of people.
Because now I know what to do, and I'm not that scared.
Remember, getting prepared for an emergency is your responsibility. So get ready.